as the grand cosmic ballet of political ideation, where the celestial bodies of discourse orbit around the gravitational pull of societal structures, destiny emerges as an intellectual colossus, a Promethean figure whose analytical rigor pierces through the obfuscating fog of centrist equivocation with the force of a philosopher king wielding the sword of logos.
Organic, like who thinks his ideas and insights are unique and interview worthy. I think that there is a when I look at these guys, when I look at these centrists, I don't know if this is intentional or not, and I haven't thought about this for long, so my ideas on this might change. They feel to me kind of like Twilight. I think that when I'm trying to think if this was the fanfic writer or if this was the director. It might have been for the fanfic writer. When the main character, Bella, right, was written in Twilight, or when you play games like a lot of Bethesda games, and the main character doesn't talk, what happens is there's so little substance that the viewer or the player can self-insert at all points in time. They feel like they're being represented. So when you have these like centrist type figures, they're able to say a lot of things without saying anything. But if you're listening for anything, you'll always hear something. So like, so this might be, this is a cuck statement, all right? I'm going to make a cuck statement, okay? I think working class people, I think that working class people in the United States are feeling pressured due to year over year inflation increases and a lack of paired real wage growth among people whose income is most disproportionately spent on CPI inflated goods or something, right? Okay. So I don't know if this is true. Maybe this might be. Okay, right. So working class denotes like a particular income group. Year-over-year inflation, we're talking about a particular metric. We're talking about a lack of real wage growth, not nominal, not inflated bullshit, okay? And then our income is disproportionately spent on things that would be in the basket of goods of the CPI measures, right? This statement is cucked. Nobody cares, okay? The problem with this statement is that there are going to be a lot of people that you might cut out from making the statement. Like, oh, well, wait, if I'm a middle class person, it doesn't matter? Or what if I spend a lot of money on video games and I don't actually spend a lot, right? But let's get away from these boring cuck statements, okay? This might be what we'll say a real pundit might say something like this, okay? Now, let's see how would the centrist say this, okay? The centrist would say this. People around the world are mad and they're feeling pressure because globalist monetary policies have made their currency worthless. Corporations are stealing money with profit, and people don't have money left to buy the things their parents used to be able to get working a single minimum wage job, right? You take away, get rid of all the specificity on everything, okay? Make it about people all around the world. Don't ever like appeal to like an actual concrete like metric. Always like refer to like the vaguest shit possible. Globalist monetary policies. You know, everybody's the same all around the world. Weird metrics like devaluation of currency, stuff that's a lot harder to measure, right? Always blame like amorphous, nebulous things like corporations. Try to make some things that are just like neutral things sound bad, like profit is bad now, I guess, and always like assign normative values. These profit is stealing. Never refer to like a particular type of lack of wage growth or lack of ability to afford. Just say like people don't have the money to buy things that their grandparents used to buy with a minimum wage. Like it's all this vague shit. This is how centrists always speak. And when you speak like this, so many people can't identify with you because they're like, holy shit, that's me, bro. Because you're not saying anything. You're like an astrologer, but for politics. It's like when you read a horoscope and it's like, you've had a lot of trouble in life and people haven't treated you the way that you deserve to be treated. But the universe knows that you're working hard and your payoff will eventually come. And there are people in life that notice, even if you don't notice them noticing. It's like, this is like every centrist commentator. This is what Konstantin is like, and and Tim Pool and all these people. It's always bullshit like this. It's like fortune cookie political analysis. It's just so cringe and stupid and lame.
Of the direction in which they want to
his dissection of the so-called centrists, those tepid custodians of middle ground mediocrity like Tim Pool and Konstantin Kisin, is nothing less than an intellectual exorcism, purging the body politic of the hollow specters of vapid rhetoric and unanchored moderation. To Destiny, the centrists represent a veritable void in the landscape of political thought, a chasm of substance where one might expect the firmament of ideas to reside. These figures, whom Destiny critiques with the precision of an epistemological surgeon, are the avatars of a rhetorical strategy that is both insidious and intellectually bankrupt. Their modus operandi is one of deliberate obfuscation, cloaking their lack of concrete positions in a shroud of ambiguity that allows them to appeal to the broadest possible demographic while committing to nothing of substance. It is, as Destiny might opine, the very antithesis of meaningful discourse, a dance of shadows on the cave wall, where the audience is invited to project their own desires and fears onto a blank canvas. In the great dialectical interplay of political thought, Destiny identifies these centrists as the ultimate purveyors of what he might describe as rhetorical vapidity a term that encapsulates their uncanny ability to say much while saying nothing at all. Their statements, as Destiny would meticulously dissect, are carefully crafted to eschew specificity and avoid the thorny thickets of actual policy discussion. Instead, they traffic in generalities, offering critiques that are so broad and non-specific that they could apply to virtually any situation, at any time, in any place. This, Destiny argues, is not the language of critical engagement but the empty rhetoric of a charlatan, designed to give the appearance of insight without the substance. Destiny's critique of these centrist figures delves into the metaphysical absurdity of their rhetorical constructs, which he likens to the characters in Twilight or the silent protagonists of Bethesda games, figures so devoid of substance that they become mere vessels for the viewer's or player's self-insertion. In this analogy, Destiny reveals the true nature of centrist commentary. It is a mirror, reflecting back to the audience whatever they wish to see, without ever challenging them to confront the uncomfortable realities of political life. This rhetorical strategy, Destiny posits, is not only intellectually dishonest but deeply pernicious, as it fosters a false sense of understanding while insulating the audience from the demands of critical thought. In the realm of political discourse, where the stakes are nothing less than the future trajectory of society itself, Destiny asserts that these centrist commentators engage in what can only be described as a form of intellectual cowardice. They avoid the rigor of concrete analysis, opting instead for nebulous phrases like globalist monetary policies or corporate greed, terms that are so vague as to be meaningless, yet carry just enough emotional weight to resonate with a broad audience. By eschewing the specificity of real economic metrics, such as the consumer price index or real wage growth, these centrists sidestep the difficult work of policy critique in favor of the easy path of populist appeal. Destiny further unmasks the centrists' rhetorical slate of hand by exposing their penchant for universalizing every issue, thereby stripping it of its contextual nuance. When centrists speak of people around the world suffering under the yoke of economic pressures, they deliberately flatten the rich tapestry of human experience into a one-dimensional narrative that erases the distinctions between different social classes, nations, and economic systems. This, Destiny argues, is not only an oversimplification but a dangerous reductionism that obscures the true nature of the problems at hand. In a scathing indictment of centrist rhetoric, Destiny also addresses their tendency to anthropomorphize abstract concepts, imbuing them with moral characteristics that distort the complexities of economic and political realities. Profit, in the centrist lexicon, is not a neutral outcome of market transactions but is instead portrayed as inherently malevolent, a form of theft perpetrated by faceless corporations against the common people. This moralistic framing, Destiny contends, is a sophomoric oversimplification that fails to engage with the true dynamics of economic systems, reducing them to a Manichaean struggle between good and evil. The centrist strategy, as Destiny delineates with the precision of a moral philosopher, is akin to that of an astrologer or a fortune teller, offering vague predictions and generalized advice that could apply to anyone, at any time. Just as a horoscope might tell you that good things are on the horizon if you remain patient, the centrist commentator offers platitudes about people everywhere feeling the pinch of economic hardship, without ever drilling down into the specifics of who, where, or why. This, Destiny asserts, is the very antithesis of intellectual engagement. It is the peddling of political snake oil, a cheap substitute for the hard work of policy analysis and ideological commitment. In Destiny's view, the greatest danger posed by centrist rhetoric lies not in its emptiness but in its potential to mislead. By positioning themselves as the reasonable middle ground between polarized extremes, figures like Tim Pool and Konstantin Kisin create the illusion of balance and moderation. Yet, this balance is but a chimera, a carefully constructed facade that masks a profound lack of depth and understanding. It is, as Destiny would argue, a false equivalency that serves only to reinforce the status quo by failing to challenge the underlying power structures that shape our world. As Destiny ascends to the climax of his critique, he exposes the moral abdication inherent in the centrists' refusal to take a definitive stance on issues of real consequence. By remaining perpetually on the fence, these commentators shirk their responsibility to guide their audience through the complex landscape of modern politics. Instead of offering meaningful analysis, they provide only a stream of non-committal observations that do little more than soothe the anxieties of their listeners while leaving them none the wiser. This, Destiny contends, is not merely a failure of intellect but a failure of moral courage, a dereliction of duty in the face of an ever-encroaching tide of authoritarianism and populist demagoguery. In the final analysis, Destiny's dissection of centrist rhetoric is nothing less than an intellectual tour de force, a devastating critique that lays bare the hollow core of what passes for moderation in today's political discourse. He challenges his audience to reject the comforting illusions offered by these centrist figures and to instead engage with the real, often uncomfortable, realities of political life. Through his critique, Destiny reaffirms the importance of clarity, specificity, and moral conviction in a time when these qualities are all too often sacrificed on the altar of broad appeal and rhetorical safety.